Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and the KVI app. You want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves? Call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Washington State is number one in car break-ins again. And is there a civil war brewing amongst the Democrats in D.C.? But before we get to any of that, time for your daily dose of adrenaline.
You want me to stick this into my heart? Are you f***ing nuts?
What a day it has been with immigration news. Usually Fridays are not this busy, but holy cow. So let's start locally, then we'll go nationally to that story you heard at the top of the hour from KVI News. Locally, the Department of Justice has joined a lawsuit to defend a Washington State sheriff who is being prosecuted by the state for assisting ICE in apprehending criminal illegal immigrants, which is in defiance of the state's sanctuary state laws. This comes after Adams County Sheriff Dale Wagner testified before Congress about the matter earlier this month. According to Katie Davenport at the Post-Millennial, he is being sued by Washington Democrat Attorney General Nick Brown's office. Wagner and several other Washington sheriffs that met with Attorney General Pam Bondi in Washington, D.C. to express concerns about the sanctuary policies they are required to abide by. In a statement issued on Thursday, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche declared that the Department of Justice stands with Adams County and has a no-tolerance policy for obstructing federal immigration enforcement efforts. Blanche said the Justice Department stands with Adams County against Washington State's overreach. Under Attorney General Pam Bondi, we will be sending a clear message. States cannot obstruct federal immigration enforcement. We will not tolerate interference. You know what, Mike? We haven't had him on the show yet. I got to reach out to Sheriff Wagner and have him on the show. I think it's about time. I've been waiting to see what this whole story was and how it's developing. I really want to have him on the show and talk to him and get it from the horse's mouth. The Department of Justice filed a statement of interest in the suit on April 18th with the United States District Court for the Eastern District of Washington. The lawsuit in defense of Sheriff Wagner is being spearheaded by America First Legal. Quote, the state's brazen attack on a sheriff working to uphold the law and protect his community from criminal illegal aliens is despicable. It must not stand. On March 10th, Attorney General Nick Brown filed a lawsuit against Adams County and Sheriff Wagner for violating the state's sanctuary statute, known as the Keep Washington Working Act, at least 212 times over the past several years. The act prohibits local and state law enforcement from assisting federal authorities with immigration enforcement efforts. The lawsuit claimed that Adams County Sheriff's Office assisted ICE in apprehending illegal immigrants by providing ICE with the names of hundreds of non-citizens who have been charged with and or convicted of crimes, as well as their dates of birth, home addresses, fingerprints, and driver's license numbers. Can we stop here for a second? I am old enough to remember when Bill Clinton and Janet Reno sent in the Marines with guns to get little Elian Gonzalez and send him back to his father in Cuba. How far we have come. How far we have come. Democrats cheered that, by the way. Let's remember that for a second. Now, Democrats have gone the complete opposite direction. They want to aid and abet every single criminal. We're not talking about people who came here to work fields, as the Democrats like to say. We're talking about actual criminals. Where's the upside? These are people who have committed crimes against the citizens you're supposed to be representing, Nick. You're supposed to be representing, Bob. And yet you're taking the side of the people who don't even pay your salary. You're taking the side of the illegal immigrant criminals here in Washington. This is who the Democrats want to keep in the state. Do I really need to go back to the ICE account in Seattle, the ERO Seattle account, and read today's latest charges? What are we going to find like we always find? DUI, domestic violence, rape, child molestation, murder. That's what it always is. Every single time. You can't give me a reason you want to keep these guys in state. So now they're suing a sheriff for enforcing the law. Let me say that again. The Democrats in Washington are suing a sheriff for enforcing the law. You know, I'm old enough to remember back in January when Nick Brown and Bob Ferguson and all these other Democrats swore to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution. Do you remember that? They're literally not doing it. They're doing the complete opposite. The sanctuary law, no way it'll stand up in court. This is something that violates federal law. Look, if Washington doesn't want to be part of the U.S. anymore, it can always secede. No problem. It can do that, like they talk about with California every time an election rolls around, which they lose. Adams County has long stated strong opposition to the sanctuary policies, which officials describe as dangerous, in a letter sent to Brown last month. Yeah, you know who else would describe it as dangerous if he were still alive? Trooper Christopher Gadd, who was killed by an illegal immigrant. Oh, I'm sorry. Allegedly killed by an illegal immigrant who was driving over 100 miles an hour, who was a prolific offender, who was driving while drunk and high at 100 miles an hour and plowed into the trooper because this fool was driving on the shoulder and plowed into a cop at a speed trap, killing him instantly. It's absolutely insane. Insane that you have Democrats who are trying to keep these illegal immigrant murderers, child molesters, rapists in the country. You think that's bad? Let's remember that Nick Brown is refusing to turn over the information that the Judiciary Committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, wants with regards to who they've been harboring, who they've been protecting, who they've been shielding. Well, my friends, this story out of Wisconsin is top of the news across the country right now. Right, left, center, it's the top of the news. Everybody's spinning it their own direction. But at the end of the day, it's about judges who are circumventing the law. The judges are supposed to be upholding the law. Instead, they were circumventing the law. Here's Pam Bondi to tell us exactly what happened.
And to set the stage for you and Sandra, this was truly horrific. This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery. He had beat up two people, a guy and a girl, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And, John, you know, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom, you're not going to believe this, takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave, while a state prosecutor and victims of domestic violence are sitting in the courtroom.
So that doesn't really sound non-biased to me. Does it sound non-biased? Okay, forget how you feel about illegal immigration. The judge is supposed to be impartial. That's what she's supposed to do. Instead, she is taking a suspect who is an illegal and sneaking him out of the building away from ICE. That's what she's doing. For all you know, ICE was standing there waiting for the verdict to come in, and then they could say, he's ours now. But here, she is circumventing it. Here's something else, Judge. If he wasn't guilty, what do you have to hide him for? If he wasn't guilty, what do you have to hide him for? Yeah, not impartial at all. According to Fox News, the FBI arrested the Wisconsin judge Friday morning for allegedly hiding a previously deported illegal immigrant in her jury room in order to stop him from being arrested by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested and charged with obstruction of official proceeding after evidence came to light she had shielded the illegal immigrant from ICE agents. She was also charged with concealing an individual to prevent discovery and arrest. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes, my friends. Federal agents from ICE, FBI, CBP, and DEA attempted to arrest the illegal alien, a Mexican national named Eduardo Flores Ruiz, following his scheduled criminal court appearance before Dugan on April 18th to face 3 misdemeanor battery charges for allegedly beating up 2 people. Dugan demanded that the officers proceed to the Chief Justice's office and, after his hearing ended, escorted Flores Ruiz and his attorney out a restricted jury door, bypassing the public area where agents were waiting in order to help him. She wanted to help him avoid arrest. Dugan appeared in federal court in Milwaukee on Friday and made no public comments during the brief hearing. Her attorney told the court Judge Dugan wholeheartedly regrets and protests her arrest. It was not made in the interest of public safety. She was shielding a criminal who's accused of battery, whose victims are sitting in the room, and we know snuck into the country illegally multiple times, already been convicted of that because he'd been deported already. This is insane. But I want to know what you think. Do you think there's a case to be made for the judge or not? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757, because Pam Bondi said very clearly what's going to happen going forward.
When you see these judges trying to obstruct your efforts to make this country safer, what is your message to them?
We are going to prosecute you, and we are prosecuting you. I found out about this the day it happened. We could not believe, actually, that a judge really did that. We looked into the facts in great depth. That's her picture up on the screen, Hannah Dugan, who is now in custody. You cannot obstruct a criminal case, and really, shame on her. It was a domestic violence case of all cases, and she's protecting a criminal defendant over victims of crime.
Yeah, what happened to believe all women, right? Yeah, that's right out the window. Now, for the devil's advocate, because we are the most pro-devil show on the radio, Milwaukee's Democrat mayor decided to hold a press conference about this. Here's the argument he made.
Defendant is ordered. There'll be a court appearance. That didn't happen in this case. I think what happened here was just showboating. They're just trying to have this show of force, and in the process of doing this in a courthouse where people need to go for court proceedings, they're scaring people away from participating in the process. So if they are witness to a crime or something of the sort, they're not going to go and participate, and that makes our community less safe.
So the issue is...
Okay, let's address that for a second. All right, are you saying that if people think they're going to get rounded up at the courthouse, they're not even going to show up for their hearings? Fair point. That's a legit fair point. But then you should be denying bail and denying bond if you think they're not going to come back. But here, the agents were out in the hall. And rather than go talk to the agents or something and say, wait till the court hearing's over or something, she didn't let the court hearing proceed. The judge, she decided to take the law into her own hands. Now, after that, the mayor of Wisconsin is done making good discussions. Excuse me, it's the governor of Wisconsin. He's done making good arguments. What happens then? He starts going off the rails into Trump derangement syndrome.
With how the arrest happened, not necessarily that there was an investigation.
Again, I don't know all the things that happened there, but I'm saying that the way that they went about this, in this ham-handed, haphazard way that this administration has been doing since day one, it's driving people away, or has potential to drive people away.
Okay, stop right there. Enough. They were out in the hall. It's not like they busted down the door of the courtroom, came in to drag the guy. The judge throws her body over the dude. I'll shield you, I'll save you. That's not what happened. She heard they were outside. She snuck them away. Question is, do you think the judge did the right thing or not? I think that right here, this judge should go to jail, and an example should be made out of her, because nobody is above the law. Oh, by the way, for those of you who think there's no precedent to this, ABC News, April 25th, 2019, literally 6 years ago to the day. How do I know that? From the miscongeniality quote that we played at the beginning of the show. April 25th is the perfect day. Judge indicted in Massachusetts for refusing to allow undocumented immigrant to be detained. This is nothing new. This has happened before. You think this isn't happening here in Washington? Well, it's happening in New Mexico. Former New Mexico Judge Joel Cano and his wife Nancy Cano, I assume that's the baseball player, were arrested on Thursday after law enforcement learned they were housing an alleged Tren de Aragua gang member. Cano, who formerly served as a judge in Doña County, and his wife Nancy were both taken into custody at their home. Cano faces charges of tampering with evidence, and his wife is facing a conspiracy to tamper charge. Cano rented out property to Christian Ortega Lopez, an alleged gang member, at his wife's behest last year. They met Ortega Lopez while he was hired by the couple to do homework for them. Work around the host, not homework like their paperwork. The district attorney's office also said that Cano's daughter had firearms in the home and let Ortega Lopez hold, shoot, and pose with them in photos shared online. Yes, let's make friends with the violent Venezuelan gang member. That's going to work out well for everybody. So now these guys are behind bars too. Nobody is above the law. So it's time to lay down the law on this kind of stuff and show just because you feel a certain way, you're supposed to be objective in your rulings. You're supposed to be objective in your court. And clearly, none of these people were. But you may disagree with me. If you disagree with me, you give me a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Rob in Camano Island. Rob, what's going on?
Well, I wasn't sure if you were going to mention the evil twins there in Milwaukee, but you did it. A couple hours ago, I was having lunch, and so I was watching the latest edition of Benny Johnson, and he brought both of those situations to light. One of the things that they didn't do with that evil witch judge is they ushered her out with her handler, scooped her up, put her in the back of the Suburban, and drove away when she should have been handcuffed in public and put into the back of the federal Suburban, not her private. It's just it's amazing.
Well, think about this for a second. Right, think about this for a second, Rob. I just want to give you just triggered something in my mind. Imagine this. Imagine if the judge in her case ushered her out the back door with her attorney. And then that judge goes to jail. And then the next judge does the whole thing. We don't have a justice system anymore. Do you realize the breakdown that could happen in the system?
No, I mean, the corruption is deeper than the abyss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I posted a comment on there. You know what? Basically, when the punishment happens and it's made nationwide, that's when I'll believe that we have justice for those criminals. Until then, man, I don't know, Ari. I hate to think that the corruption is running deep in the new administration. They keep talking a good game. I just want to see them follow through with everything that they say they're going to do.
Well, we all do, but think about this for a second. If this is happening in Milwaukee and this is happening in New Mexico, you think this isn't happening here in Seattle?
Oh, of course it is. I mean, and the other thing, since you mentioned Seattle, now that all of the other states and what have you are kicking out the illegals, I think, what's her name? I forget. They're going to go to all of the sanctuary states and cities where they know they're safe and they're not going to be nabbed up by ICE agents.
Exactly. That's what they're going to do. So that means we're driving them all over here now. Oh, great. Wonderful. Fantastic. Every illegal in Washington, every illegal in Idaho is going to come to Washington. Rob, appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. We go back to the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Take a call from Bruce in Kirkland. Bruce, what's up, man?
Hey, that judge should be disbarred, tossed off the bench, and charged with violating her oath of office. My God. I mean, it's like they go to law school and they never hear about the Constitution comes first. There's something called the Supremacy Clause.
Yeah.
What's with these people?
I agree. In fact, hang on a second. You're in good company, Bruce. Steve on the text line says, arrest the judge, take away their law license. Chris says, put the judge in Gitmo, 10 years. Also, Chris doesn't like that I keep using the word allegedly. Chris, I have to use the word allegedly until they're actually convicted. That's a professional thing that we have to do around here. And then John says the judge should go to jail and lose her judgeship, which means being disbarred also. Yeah, Bruce, you're in good company. It seems like everybody agrees with you on this one.
Yeah, I just hope if the DOJ comes out here and starts finding our lawmakers are violating their oath with their unconstitutional gun laws and their unconstitutional let's give down payments only to one race, maybe those of them that are lawyers could be disbarred as well.
Yeah, maybe we'll actually get $30 car tabs if we stop having activist judges, small things in life.
You are a dreamer, right?
Very good, Bruce. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show today, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, Washington is number one in car break-ins, and a prolific offender is avoiding jail again. We'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. For the past couple of years, we've run the numbers with you about how Washington State is number one in the U.S. for car thefts. We've gone through the actual numbers with you, analyzed them, dissected them, explained the reasons why, like Democrats banning police pursuits, Democrats doing everything they could to release prolific offenders, you name it, making it easier for car thefts. We have discussed that in depth. So normally I would take an article like this and say it's confirmation bias. It's an article from Fox 13 that says Washington ranked as most at risk for car break-ins in U.S. in April. Okay, I click this immediately and go, yes, talk to me. Material for my show. And it says a new study revealed Washington is the most at-risk state in the country for car break-ins during the month of April. The average number of car break-ins in Washington is 133% higher than the national average. New York is the least at-risk state? Wait. That's where my mind just went, wait, New York is the least at-risk state for car break-ins? Who did this survey? So I scroll, and it was reported by tintinglaws.com. Would you like to know who Tinting Laws is? They tell you, by state, the law about how dark the window tint on your car can be. And I said, okay, this is not something I would consider a legit source for this kind of data. Now, thanks to my friends over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, I actually had them downgrade the tint on the Charger I bought used a long time ago, and it was so dark, people couldn't see me when I was waving them by. You had no idea who was actually in the car. I remember one time I'm waving at a friend of mine and my wife is sitting next to me. My wife is sitting next to me. And she goes, that person had no idea. They may recognize your car, but they didn't know you were waving at them. I couldn't even see at night where I was going half the time. Very dangerous. And what got me is my son going, Dad, I couldn't see anything. So it wasn't just me getting old. Okay, he's got much better eyes than I do. So my friends over at Renton Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram actually downgraded my tint. Is it still dark? Yes. It's at the legal limit, though, and I can see at night. So this report by tintinglaws.com, you guys make fun of the Wallet Hub studies that we use from time to time. At least there's a little bit more data there. New York being the least likely place for your car to get stolen, immediately I called BS on that. Immediately. Something else I'm calling BS on is the prolific offender who was charged with carjacking and murdering an 80-year-old woman and her dog last summer has been found incompetent to stand trial. Now, according to Como News, the victim's family has accused Jamed Haynes of refusing to take meds while in jail so he can go back to Western State Hospital. So somebody asked me when I put this up on social media, they said, Ari, can't somebody stay in the hospital for the rest of their lives? And I said, the short answer is maybe. So you may think, oh, okay, they're going to keep them, but normally they're trying to get them, quote unquote, better again. And it's also a cushier environment. A guy who killed an 80-year-old dog walker and her dog, by the way, in my mind, deserves no pity at all, especially who's a prolific offender. And it looks like he's going for the pity vote. So remember this story a long time ago? This was last summer, as a matter of fact. Ruth Dalton had several cars in her blue Subaru Forester and was on the way to the park when she was carjacked around 10 a.m. near MLK Junior Way East and East Harrison Street in Seattle's Madison Valley neighborhood. During a press conference, the SPD said there was a struggle between Jamed Haynes and Dalton inside the vehicle after Haynes got in the passenger side of Dalton's vehicle, tried pushing her out while she was in the driver's seat. Those citizens stopped their cars and tried to help her. They said as Haynes fled, he struck Dalton, dragged her body, and hit two other nearby vehicles. Quote, one of the citizens came up to the car to engage with the suspect and produced a knife. At that point, the witness backed away, went to retrieve a large stick or bat or some similar object, came back and tried to save the woman, but at that point, the vehicle backed up rapidly, crashing into two parked cars. She was pronounced dead at the scene when she was hit by the car as it was attempting to flee, even though people tried to save her. At approximately 3 p.m., citizens reported that a man was herding a dog near a playfield. A Seattle animal control officer who responded found a dog that had been stabbed to death in a garbage can. The dog had a collar with Dalton's name on it and was found to be her dog, Prince. At least two other dogs were in the car because she's a dog walker, and they were found to be safe. Very lucky those dogs were rescued. They managed to find and arrest Haynes. They found him with a bloody knife, keys to the car, you name it. He has 8 prior felony convictions dating back to 1993, including vehicular homicide, assault, robbery, and escape, as well as a history of mental health concerns. So for those of you who are asking, well, won't a hospital keep him? They didn't keep him last time, and he committed all the same crimes except for murder last time. This is a guy who should have been locked up away from society, not just for his own good, but for everybody else's. And they didn't do it. And because they didn't do it, an old woman and her dog are dead. It's insane, by the way. It's insane. So now he's going to get to go back to a mental hospital because he refused to take his meds because he knew he'd look crazy. And then they said he's not competent to stand trial. Are we really on this merry-go-round? So remember the first time they said he's not competent to stand trial. Send him to the hospital. They make him take his meds, comes back competent to stand trial. They want a revision. They go back, stops taking his meds while in jail. Now he's incompetent to stand trial, wants to go back to the hospital. In my mind, this is no different than the men who say, we're women, because they want to stay somewhere else. This guy knows damn well what he's doing. He belongs behind bars for the rest of his life, and if Washington had the death penalty, he should be sentenced to death for the things that he has done. Agree with me, you disagree with me, give me a call, 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, my friends, is there a Democrat civil war brewing between the progressives and the leftists? Because there's no more moderates left in the Democrat Party. We'll discuss when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. So according to recent polling, fewer than 1 in 3 Americans approve of the job President Donald Trump and Congress are doing, according to a new national poll from Harvard Kennedy's School Institute of Politics. But while the approval ratings for Trump and congressional Republicans have mostly stayed consistent since the start of the president's first administration 8 years ago, the 50th Harvard Youth Poll indicates that approval ratings for Democrats in Congress among Americans aged 18 to 29 have nosedived. According to Harvard's annual spring survey, which was conducted March 14th through 25th and released this week, the approval rating for congressional Democrats stands at 23%, down from 42% in the spring of 2017 at the start of Trump's first term. In that same period, approval for congressional Republicans has held steady, inching up slightly from 28 to 29%. Now, let me put these numbers in context for you for a second, because most people go, that sounds bad for Republicans also. Everybody always hates Congress. They like their congressman or woman. They hate Congress. They blame everything on Congress. They like their president. They hate the president. But they like their guy or gal, depending on the situation. So when you put Trump and the Republicans in Congress together, you're going to get a lower score. Trump is still hovering somewhere around 45 to 50%. It hasn't moved that much, really. And these are some of the highest poll numbers he's ever had. What's interesting is the significant nosedive that Democrats in Congress are taking on their own. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, this shows the Democrat Party is completely dead. No, because people still like their congressperson. I mean, Congress has had approval ratings in the teens before, and the same people keep getting reelected because people like their representative, or they vote for the Democrat, or they vote for the Republican. It takes a huge groundswell to really turn things over in a different direction. Look how hard it was to win back Congress and the Senate in the most recent election. The Republicans barely did it, even with the huge amount of support that Trump had. So it's important to look at that, but it's the nosedive for the Democrats that are very, very important. Now, some people are reading more into this. For example, from the AP News, the top Democrat in Florida's Senate is leaving his party, declaring that the Democratic Party in Florida is dead. Senate Minority Leader Jason Pizzo's announcement on the Senate floor Thursday that he's changing his registration to no party affiliation is the latest blow to a party that has struggled to define itself after a series of crushing electoral losses in recent years. I want you to think about this. In 2000, the vote for president in Florida was decided by what, 600 votes? 600 votes. Now, Ron DeSantis won by 20 points in the last election. Trump won by 30 points in some districts in the last election in Florida. Now, as much as you want to be excited about a purple state going bright red, we're the complete opposite. We're literally diagonally across the country from Florida. It's the farthest flight you could have in the continental United States, us to them, and we have the complete opposite thing happening here. It's going in the other direction. Do you think that Republicans are dead here in Washington? Do you think we're as screwed as they are, as the Democrats are in Florida? Give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Now you have a choice. Do you remake the Republican Party? Do you remake the Democrat Party? What do you do? Do you figure something else out? Now, Republicans, when they were in trouble, what did they do? They turned to Trump. And now the entire Republican Party is the Trump Party. You don't even recognize most pieces of the Republican Party anymore. In fact, once Trump's gone, there's a discussion to be had leading into the next election of how does J.D. Vance grab MAGA by the horns? How does he take on that mantle? Can he do the same things Trump did? Can somebody else rise up and become that person? It's a discussion Republicans should have if they're smart. Now, David Hogg, the vice chair for the Democrats, has his own theories on what they should do in the Democrat Party. He's kind of taken a page out of Trump's playbook. He's saying, if you're not a true progressive, if you're not a true leftist, we want you out of here. If you're old, we want you out of here. Dick Durbin from Illinois, who's been there longer than I've been alive, resigned, or didn't resign. He announced he's not running for office again. So that might already be working. He wants to go after people like Chuck Schumer that they don't deem progressive enough. Now, everybody's talking about, is AOC going to run? Is AOC going to run? Whether she's running or not, they are putting her out there as the standard bearer for the new Democrat Party, which is the Socialist Party. Bernie Sanders would always going around going, oh, it's Democrat socialism. There's no difference. Somebody had a meme online. It was a pile of poo next to another pile of poo. And one pile of poo had sprinkles on it. And they go, socialism, democratic socialism. There is no difference between the two of them at all. But that seems to be the direction that the Democrats want to go in. So now there's a little battle happening because the Democrat Party is saying, hey, David Hogg, hang on a second. You want to challenge sitting Democrats because they're not progressive enough? Do you want a civil war inside the party? It's entertaining. It's entertaining to watch. But at the same time, realize is that a lot of people resonate with that stupid socialist messaging because socialism just hasn't been done right yet. David Hogg realizes, okay, well, let's throw it all in on socialism because maybe Bernie would have beaten Trump in 2016. I don't think so, but maybe he would have. That's at least David Hogg's theory. So they're going for as hardcore socialist as they can get. And you know somebody who they might challenge? Representative Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez. She votes with the Republicans from time to time. Now, I'm no big fan of hers at all. We have made that very, very clear on the show. We backed Joe Kent every time he ran. But at the same time, she does vote with Republicans occasionally. so she's better than some other Democrats. But she's getting booed by her own constituents. KOIN News has a story for us, KOIN. Give a listen.
The sound of some people booing tonight. Hundreds of unhappy voters making their feelings known in Vancouver as Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez hosts her 4th town hall. Welcome to KOIN 6 News at 11. I'm Elizabeth Din.
I'm Jeff Gianola. All this comes as the second-term Congresswoman faces major backlash after she voted in favor of the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, or SAVE Act. Our Ariel Yacobazi was at that town hall tonight. So what was the energy like in that room, Ariel?
Well, you just heard it off the top of the show there. A lot of boos and a lot of expletives were thrown at the Congresswoman as she entered the stage. And throughout much of her hour-long town hall, she really wasn't able to get many words in. Out the door, around the building, down the block.
I want to hear from her that she understands where we're all coming from.
Hundreds of unhappy constituents and community members showing up at Washington's 3rd District Representative Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez's town hall.
I only have one vote. I've already spent it on her. I don't know if her re-election is probable or possible because of her standings.
Many unhappy with their rep after Gluesenkamp-Perez voted for the SAVE Act, which would require all Americans to prove their citizenship when voting.
Hang on a second. That's the law. So you guys don't like the law, then work to change the law. But you have to be an American citizen to vote. And Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez did the right thing here. You know what? I should invite her on the show to talk about this, but I know what that answer is going to be. So we'll invite her anyway. But the left is targeting people who don't go lockstep with them on every single issue. You know how they're sending activists to the meetings and town halls of the Republicans? They're doing same thing to Democrats they deem as disloyal. The exact same thing. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Paul in Bonnie Lake. Paul, what's up?
Thank you, Ari, for taking my call. The Washington State Republican Party needs to be totally imploded and rebuilt from the ground up. You cannot have half a party voting for an absolute fraud. The gentleman who is running against Reichert, I can't even remember his name now, who would steal things, who would lie about things. You can't have that and then have them have their feelings hurt when you call them out on it. And this is something I didn't say. You need to get rid of the Jerry Ford, Nelson Rockefeller wing, bring in the combined Reagan and Trump wings of the party.
So you have one little problem here, which I'm going to put in front of you, Paul, and I want you to think on this. Don't answer me right now. I want you to think on this. I want you to call me back. If Trump pulls at 7% in Washington, or excuse me, in Seattle and King County, by going that direction, how do you win Washington State?
I can tell you right now, if that's okay.
Yeah, go.
Okay, in my opinion, you have to bring in you have to bring in the populists, because they're going to go, if they're not taken care of, they're going to go pout and sit in a corner. But Reagan would Trump has a coalition. Reagan had his coalition, and the Reagan values, in my opinion, need to be the top of this. You can have some of the McKinley coalition, but you need to decide what you're going to do. You need to decide on the winning strategy. And in my opinion, with all the legislation that has come through, get hold of the finances.
So then I'll say this, Paul. I'll modify what you say a little bit, because I think Let's Go Washington has discovered the formula, which is you run on the issues, not the person. And that's your key to success, which I think is what you're saying. Appreciate the call. Appreciate you being part of the show. You want to be part of the show, or you have a suggestion about how to save the GOP here in Washington, give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. When we come back, how the Democrats lost Chuck Norris. Plus a lot more of your calls and texts. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome back to the Ari Hoffman Show. Just a reminder that coming up at 4 o'clock is your chance to listen for our keyword and be part of our Golden Age of America contest, my friends. Yes, $2,025 plus a Daniels Broiler gift card could be yours. Well, you know that old joke about finding Chuck Norris? You don't find Chuck Norris finds you. Chuck Norris doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the world down, right? We could go through the whole website of all the jokes. But somebody was interviewing Chuck Norris the other day about why he left the Democrat Party. Give a listen.
Question for you, good sir. Why are you a conservative, sir?
Well, I used to be a Democrat, but unfortunately the Democrats went too far to the left, and the Republicans moved into their position that the Democrats were 40 years ago. See, and so what the Democrats believed 40 years ago, the Republicans believe today. And so I realized that I had to go to a Republican because the Democrats just got too far off the trail.
Now, do you agree with Chuck Norris? Do you disagree with Chuck Norris? Because I don't want to disagree with Chuck Norris. I never want to do that. I don't think anybody wants to disagree with Chuck Norris at your own peril. But at the same time, I believe, yes, that's true, that the Republican Party today resembles more the Democrats of, let's say, 40, 50 years ago. But at the same time, there's a lot of things in the Republican Party that are still the Republican Party. I think it's more the Democrats have gone so far left, there's no common sense anymore. And people seeking out common sense will find more in common with the Republican Party than they will with the Democrat Party. Let me know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one from the 253 on the Warrior Injury Law studio line. Ari, are the Dems blighting the state on purpose? Sometimes I think they are. It's like the movie RoboCop. That was literally the plot. Make the place as bad as possible, buy up all the land for cheap. So the 253 added, it seems that way in most Democrat-run cities. I'm trying to figure out what their game plan could be. Total domination. That's what their game plan is. This one from the 206, hey, Ari, please stop calling the Democrats the Democratic Party. There's nothing democratic about them. They hate democracy. In fact, anti-democratic party would probably be okay. If you want to go with that, please do. Yeah, you're not wrong there, 206. We go to the Warrior Injury Law studio line, take a call from Sean in Bonnie Lake. Sean, what's up?
Hey, Ari, how are you?
Doing good. What's up, man?
Hey, you're talking about can the Republicans ever win in this state again? I think this state is gone. I don't see how we can win any longer. I mean, if you go back to the Dino Rossi, when Dino Rossi actually did win the governorship, and then they continued to count votes until he didn't. As long as we have mail-in balloting continuing in the state, we will never win again.
So I'm going to agree with you and disagree with you, okay? Here's how I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree with you by saying, yes, you're 100% right. But two, here's the thing. I don't think any real effort has ever been made statewide at a real ballot harvesting operation. I really don't think so. And until that is done, I'm not willing to give up hope. Now, I saw that some of our conservative friends here in Washington organized on their own a meeting with Scott Pressler, the guy who delivered Pennsylvania. And I am super excited to see that. It wasn't the party that did it. It was grassroots volunteers that did it. I mean, I am thrilled to see that kind of stuff. Once a real effort has been made at that, until that real effort has been made, I'm not willing to give up on it. What do you say, Sean?
No, I don't disagree with that, but we've been fighting so long in this state to try to push some conservative values forward, and we keep losing.
Yeah.
We lose and we lose.
Well, I'm telling you, that's why, because we're literally playing the game with two hands tied behind our back, and we have been for the last, 15 years, at least since I moved here. Sean, great points. I hear your frustration. Appreciate the call. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. When we come back, more of your calls, more of your texts, the Taxapalooza that's coming your way, and your chance to save a little bit of money, win a little bit of money, so you have it for the taxes during our Golden Age of America competition. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up this hour, whatever you have, whatever you own, whatever you do, the Democrats are going to try and tax it. But before we get to any of that, and we will get to your calls, we will get to your texts. I know some of you have been holding for a while. It is time for you to be part of Donald Trump's golden age of America.
The golden age of America begins right now.
And because it's Friday, we have our studio audience as well who are here joining us for the contest. It's time for your chance to win $2,025 and a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and be part of the golden age of America.
And I'm asking you to dream big again, and this will be America's new golden age. We're going to have a golden age.
Yes, we are, and it's so nice of the president to join us along with our studio audience today. So here's what you have to do, my friends. And we've been giving the instructions for a few weeks now, and some of you are still getting it wrong, so we're going to do it one more time. Here we go. You are going to text the word I give you to the number I give you. Do not text your name. Do not text your number. Do not text your address. Do not text anything else that you have. Just the word itself. You text in the word, no duplicates of the word. One time will do. So today's word is play. As in, I want to play the Golden Age of America contest. P-L-A-Y.
And I'm asking every citizen all across our land to join me in launching a new golden age for America.
I forget every time I say that term. That's what comes up. So it's the word play, P-L-A-Y. Text it to 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. You have until 5 o'clock to enter. Your next chance at winning comes up. Your next chance to win anything comes up at 5:45 during our Good News giveaway. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout or delivery order, and more. And I also want to thank the President of the United States for taking all this time to join us for our Golden Age of America contest.
Well, and thank you, Ari. You do an incredible job and such an important voice. Thank you very much, Ari.
Such a pleasure, Mr. President. Love that you join us every single day for that contest. We go to the Warrior Injury Law Studio line, take a call from our friend Transit Joe. Transit Joe, what's up, man?
What's up, brothers? It's a great Friday and great America. We're having a golden age all throughout the country, and especially in Redmond with sexy white rail coming. But that's not why I called. I called because it's been 231 days since mega anti-Semite Alex Zimmerman was ordered to get a pretrial competency evaluation. And so I just tweeted out to all the to the relevant people like DSHS and Attorney General Nick Brown, and of course Bellevue, so Democrat leadership, and our friend Jared, that they need to make sure that Mr. Zimmerman gets his competency hearing because he's claiming incompetency for violating a trespass and driving with a suspended license. And as you know, I take anti-Semitism very seriously, and that's one reason why I'm considering leaving the Democratic Party for good, because anti-Semitism is never okay. And I think that we need to make sure that everyone gets a competency evaluation within 180 days. It's now 231. I'm sure you agree with me. This shows just how Democrats can tax Palooza, but they can't actually govern, right?
Right. So I'll tell you what, Joe. I want you to do me a favor. I think I asked you this a couple days ago, but we were in a rush, right? Today we're not in a rush. But I want you to do me a favor, okay? And I do this anytime I got to make a big decision, make a pro-con list. Can you do me a favor? Of all the things the Democrats do that you support and all the things the Republicans are doing that you support, and tell me which one you come out on. Can you do that for me?
I'm thinking about it. I mean, it's kind of hard because on one hand, Representative Travis Coulter, Representative Jim Walsh voted against allowing disabled people to be on transit boards. But on the other hand, I think our state needs to be run more competent.
Well, hang on a second. Remember what Travis Coulter, Jim Walsh, the entire Republican Party just went to bat for the Rainier School, and the Democrats chose to close it. So whatever feelings you may have had about whatever else, remember they just did that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will.
All right, so you make that list. I would be fascinated to see the results of it, okay, buddy?
I'll make a note to put it on my to-do list for the weekend.
Fantastic.
And we'll have to schedule.
Yeah, then we'll have you call back. I would love to go
calling.
through this list. I would love to look at it. Joe, appreciate the call. You have a wonderful weekend, my friend. You want to be part of the show, you give us a call or a text at 206-421-5757. This one from Melody. Ari, love your laughter. You make my day. The state needs serious prayers. That's what we need. I pray every day for our president and Elon and our administration that our new governor will have a wake-up call from our Heavenly Father, because honestly, we in our deep blue trouble. We're in deep trouble if they approve the taxes they are seeking. Yes, absolutely. She also added, I would love to have Charlie Kirk here, but I need him to help out. So here's the thing with Charlie Kirk. If we have Scott Presler, it's the same kind of thing, and I actually think Scott Presler's model is going to work better here than Charlie Kirk's. Why? Scott Presler kind of appeals to the crunchies. I met Scott Presler at Turning Point USA this year. He's much more Seattle than Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk comes out here and Charlie Kirk's like, we're going to own the libs. I don't think that's going to work here. The Scott Presler model, I think, will be very successful here.
Well, and to say nothing about that Charlie has been here a number of times.
Yes.
It's actually happened.
Yes. I think that Charlie also appeals to younger kids who are looking for something to believe in, and something more Americana, something more American military, that kind of thing. And that's great. There are people like that would have worked on me as a kid, right? That would have worked on me 1,000%. Something else, my life would be in a different direction probably right now. But yes, that would have been great. I think for the majority of Washingtonians, King County, Seattleites, I think that the Scott Presler model is the way to go. But here's the thing, different strokes for different folks. Start with the Scott Presler one and then go, who are we not reaching with this? Do we need something else? And you know what? Somebody may take the Scott Presler model and make it into the Washington model. There may be a person right now who we've never heard of. Did you know who Scott Presler was a year ago? I didn't know who he was. I didn't know who Charlie Kirk was 5 years ago. You didn't know who Ari Hoffman was 5 years ago, a lot of you. So is there somebody else out there that may be the person that takes up the mantle, that then that person delivers Washington State? Are they somebody who listens to this show? And I'll tell you something. If you're the person who's working with Scott Presler, if you're the person who takes that model, I will have you on the show as many times as it takes to get the word out about this ballot harvesting, because it's the only way we win Washington.
Oh, and happy anniversary, by the way, buddy.
Oh, thank you.
Because tomorrow is Saturday. The 26th is on Saturday. So I guess we'll celebrate it today and Monday as you broadcast from the White House.
Thank you.
That seems a great way to commemorate 4 years of the Ari Hoffman Show.
I agree. I was actually going to save that for the good news segment, but happy anniversary to you. As I say all the time, our show. My name may be on the show, but it's not the same show without you. In fact, we have the Big Mike Militia, and they are strong, and they are members of my own family. In fact, when Mike is not on, sometimes people will call me from my own family and going, is Mike okay? Where's Mike? Why isn't Mike on today? I'll be like, oh, he took a day off to go to a Transformers convention or whatever it is. And they're like, oh, well, I want Mike back. That's my own family members. They're not happy enough with me. They are members of the Big Mike Militia, which cracks me up. They are a well-regulated militia. And let's not forget that Bob Ferguson is trying to stop well-regulated militias from this state. You can join the Big Mike Militia totally free just by listening to the Ari Hoffman Show every single weekday. And if you miss it, my friends, that's why we stream the show on every single platform, have the podcast, everything else, because they are a well-regulated militia. Bob Ferguson's afraid of Scott Presler. He's afraid of the Big Mike Militia. He's afraid of Charlie Kirk. He's afraid of all that, which is why he is doing everything he possibly can to tax the you-know-what out of you so all of you leave. He wants you all to leave. And why should we leave? This is our state. We like it here. We do. And I know there's a lot of people who are getting really, really tired, but I want to give you a little prediction that I was right on again. So sometimes I'm really good at predicting the future, and I only make a solid prediction when I know I'm right. Should I take you back in time to, what was it, January, when all of a sudden we found out about this budget gap? And what was it at the time? Oh, it's $7 to $8 billion. That's the actual budget gap. It's not actually a budget gap because you're talking about the Democrats' out-of-control spending. Well, remember I said at the time, odds are it's going to be higher. It's going to be something like 18. They're only telling you this low number so as not to scare you. It's probably going to be 18 to 20. Headline from the Center Square, House Democrats advance $18 billion in tax hike proposals as session winds down. Who was right again? Should we go through all the different versions we've heard of this? And every time I said the same thing. Every time I said it's going to be higher than that. Because it's not a budget gap. It's to cover their future spending. Right now, we could fix this with the $7 billion. Todd Ferguson, I keep doing that. Turd Ferguson laid out $4 billion in cuts. Washington Doge has found about $1.5 billion to $2 billion in cuts. That's 6. You're almost there. So instead, this is all the spending they want to do. So remember, first it was 7 to 8, then it was 10, then it was 10 to 12, then it was 14, then it was 14 to 15, then it was 15, then it was 16, now it's 18? So wait until it hits 20. Mike, can we get close without going over? We're going to do this Price is Right style, right? So I said 18 to 20. That's the number I said. Are they going to come out with like 20.5? 21, right? Closest without going over. Now, I think I still win. Mike, you be the judge, okay? I think I still win if I get 18 to 20 and they go 18, right? Do
Absolutely.
I still win?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
All right, because I didn't fall for that 8 nonsense
Yeah,
they
because
said.
it's not 8.
Right.
Let's start with that.
Right. It's not at all. Okay. So, would you like to know what they are going forward with? Jim Walsh and the Washington House Republicans put up an entire list of everything they're going to tax. You ready for this? I'm going to give you the updates as we go of which ones are going forward officially. House Bill 2049 allows local property taxes to increase. Well, they worked their way around it, and they're increasing using a back door to fund the schools. So, yes, they're taxing your property. Raising taxes on Zyn and cigarettes. Those are both going forward. Last night, they voted to increase your gas tax by 9 cents a gallon. So the 50 cents they got last year wasn't enough from the Climate Commitment Act. So now they're adding another 9 cents. Oh, something else, my friends. By the way, this happens every single day. Anytime I mention that the national gas average is going down, you all yell at me. On the text line, you all yell at me and you say, no, Ari, it's not. Look what I paid today. And you send me a screenshot. I know. I'm paying the same thing. Believe me, I know. But it's going up because of the Climate Commitment Act and all these taxes the Democrats are putting on it. 35 states, the gas prices are going down. Washington, California, Hawaii, it's not because they follow the same stupid formula. So the gas prices are going to keep going up. Oh, and it's tied to inflation. So because this thing is going forward, every single year it's going to go up. And would you like to know what it's funding? Electric buses. Electric buses. That's what it's funding because those have been so reliable so far. Which city was it? Was it Kent that just had to get rid of all their, they just had to sell Everett. They just had to sell all their electric buses because the company went out of business and they don't work anymore. Nice investment, guys. Really. Okay. So Democrats claim they love the environment, right? Well, they're jacking up the prices of the Discovery Pass by 50%. Guys, I think I saw our friend Matt Gilbert talking about this. Get an America the Beautiful Pass just to say, no, I'm not going to your nonsense parks anymore. Okay, they're increasing the ticket fees on sporting events and concerts. Wait. Wasn't it the National Democrats, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, who were saying, oh, we're bringing that down. Not the Washington Democrats. All right, they want this nonsense for the beverage container, so we're going to set up those machines everywhere that scarred me for life. Great, we'll do that. They increase the liquor fees, not just on the liquor you buy, but on bars, restaurants, wedding halls, event halls. So they took the bar, the whole bleeping bar, right? Just like John Belushi says. They're taxing that. They're increasing the business and occupation tax on local businesses. So everybody's screwed because your prices are going to go up when you go out. Your prices are going to go up on anything you buy. Oh, the gas tax, by the way. Your groceries are going to go up because everything is shipped by truck. All right, 10% excise tax on duty-free stores. Hang on. Tax-free stores are now getting taxed. No more trips to the border for me. By the way, what's crazy to me is when I go to duty-free is not really the cheapest, but compared to Washington, it's way cheaper. And now it probably won't be. They know that people are going to duty-free, and they're not buying that Washington alcohol, and they're saving the money. So, new tax on storage units, taxes on gold, silver. I love gold, right? That's the Democrats right now. New tax on Airbnb, VRBO, and short-term rental homes. Oh, I thought they're trying to make housing more affordable, right? I thought they're trying to make Washington more affordable. Yep, nope. Double the car rental tax rate. Apply taxes on ride-sharing services. Additional tax on cell phones, smartwatches, other devices, capital gains tax, estate tax rate. So they get you coming and going. Unrealized capital gains, which no other state is dumb enough to do. That's $18 billion. So that they can continue paying for Jack City Rain Clubs. So that your money can continue going to that. By the way, we've got some new volunteers at Washington Doge who are doing a killer job online exposing why the hell are millions of dollars going to companies that have been insolvent for years, that haven't existed for years. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of accounts. I got to put up a post showing you all the accounts to follow on social media who've been digging into this stuff because it is maddening, mind-boggling what they are doing. And there's something else. House Bill 1296 has been sent to the governor's desk. Do you know what that is? House Bill 1296. This is the one that would remove the requirement that parents receive notice if there's an allegation that their child was sexually abused by a school employee outside of school. Why would you want to get rid of something like that? Because you're protecting the predators. That's how bad things have gotten around here. So, here's your choice, my friends. If you want to say no to all this, you should call Governor Ferguson's office, 360-902-4111. That's 360-902-4111. Be polite. The person answering the phones is not Bob Ferguson. The person answering the phones, this is a job for them. Be polite. Say no to new taxes, all of them, because Washington's already unaffordable. Tell them your sob story, by the way. They record that kind of stuff. Don't make one up. Tell them legit. And then, in addition to that, you say parents should have rights. He should veto all these things that strip away parental rights. You want my prediction for what's going to happen? As Mr. T would say, prediction? Pain. I think what he's going to do is he's going to approve all the small taxes to make the left happy. I think he's going to approve the rent control. Oh, forgot that one. That's right. The rent control is coming out too, because now the Democrats in the House and the Senate have compromised with each other. I think he's going to sign off on all that. I think he's going to veto the wealth tax, the business tax, because he wants to get reelected. But I think he's going to let everything else go through. I really, really do. Unless he hears from you. Now, you have a choice. You can let all this go through, or you can call Bob Ferguson's office. You can yank your kids out of public school, or you can call Bob Ferguson's office. And let me tell you something. If any of these gutting of the parental rights bills go through, we are going to do a massive drive here on the show for people to pull their kids out of the public schools. I want to make them cry for how many kids they lose from the public schools with your help. We're going to do this together. And speaking of the public schools, my friends, when we come back, lots more to discuss. Another pedo teacher outed in our area. What is that, like 20 for the year so far? What is going on in our schools? We'll give you the details when we come back. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Another day, another pedophile alleged to be in our kids' schools. Yesterday, police in Bothell arrested 44-year-old Philip Dean, a longtime educator and band instructor at Bothell High School, on 2 felony charges stemming from alleged incidents involving a student. Dean faces 1 count of sexual misconduct with a minor in the first degree and 1 count of communication with a minor for immoral purposes. According to investigators, the crimes took place during the 2015 and 2016 school years when the victim was a student at Bothell High School. According to police, the victim is fully cooperating with authorities in what police describe as an active and ongoing investigation. Now, for those of you that say he said, she said category, this is not one of those. Last night, we didn't have this information. Last night, we had very little information, but today he was charged. And today, the charging documents came out. And I'm not reading them on air. I'm not. I will tell you, it involves text messages, Facebook messages, pretty much every single platform you can imagine there are messages on, assuming they're authentic. And in Washington, you don't arrest somebody unless you've actually got this. Let me explain why. Washington, for all the things we hate about Washington, for all the things we don't like about Washington, Washington has like a 99% conviction on sex offenders. At least they used to, by the way. Okay? So if they have that, they want to make sure they have a solid conviction. They typically don't go after he said, she said cases. That's not what they do. They want to have it dead to rights. Now, those numbers I have are from before they want to release everybody and release the sex offenders. So those numbers might have changed. But it has been the experience studying these cases that that's normally what they do. So they've got the texts. They've got all these different messages going back and forth. Why didn't the girl come forward sooner? This is actually a case, according to the charging documents, of the school actually doing the right thing. Now, this is at Bothell High School, and this teacher's been there for over 15 years. The North Shore School District is fully cooperating with the police investigation, according to Bothell Police. Now, according to the charging documents, and this was a very interesting part to me, they thought something was going on, so they called the student into the office to discuss, and the student admits that she lied. Now, you have this incident here. Now, here's what I would do if I'm the school. All right, what do you do at this point? There are allegations being made. Student says it's not happening. You don't know what to do. I mean, you got to deal with unions and stuff, but at the same time, I'd reassign that guy somewhere else. I don't like the rubber rooms. I don't like that, but you can't fire the guy at this point. But if there's been these allegations made, you got to figure out something to do to remove him from the area. Now, right now, they have no indication there were other victims. They have just the indication that there was the one victim. But it seems like the school, in theory, did the right thing trying to investigate it, but then had nothing else to go on. And the girl, who's now a young lady, is now admitting that this thing happened a while ago and that she lied about it and it came out during therapy. Now, they have the text and they have all these other messages to back it up. But I want to know what you suggest for circumstances, conditions like this, cases like this. You have the allegations made, but nothing's been proved. If people can just make allegations and people go to jail or people get reassigned, you can ruin people's lives. You can ruin people's careers. I'm not sure I would have done anything differently if I was the school. Let me know what you think. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Bothell Police have expressed concern that additional victims may exist and are encouraging anyone with relevant information to come forward. Now, this case is a growing list of recent reports involving sexual misconduct by school personnel across Washington state and the U.S. Earlier this week, we had the middle school wrestling coach in Auburn, Washington, who was charged with multiple felony offenses after allegedly engaging in sexually explicit communications with a 14-year-old student. We have so many cases like this. Mike, I've lost track. I want to say it's somewhere between a dozen and 20 at this point, something like that. I don't think I'm overestimating. I think it's about 12 to 20. We're somewhere in that wheelhouse. I just lost track. Since January. Just since January, we have a problem in our schools. Predators go where there is prey, and they know these kids are not protected. Now, it looks like in the case of Bothell High School, they really did try to do everything, but you may disagree. So tell me what you would do in that situation. 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. This one here from 702. Accusations are not proof or conviction. Presumed innocent until proven guilty. You're 100% right. 100% right. Doesn't mean you don't watch like a hawk. I agree with you, 702. 1,000%. Meanwhile, there is some good news around here. Washington Parents Network has filed a formal complaint, formal Title VI complaint, civil rights violation against the from the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights against Washington State Superintendent Chris Rakedahl, alleging widespread violations of federal anti-discrimination laws because he continues going with diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in public schools. Oh, this is just delicious. By the way, you want something really, really fun? I got a little treat for you. So Senator John Braun was grilling Chris Rakedahl and telling him to his face that people don't trust him. This was great. I think Brandy Cruz found this clip. It was amazing. Give a listen.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And set aside the fact that this bill actually reduces local LEA, and we'll just agree to disagree on whether the co-occurrence of increased local levies and the failure of the state to fund basic education has causality during the Dorn decision and the McCleary decision. How do you address the situation where school districts simply aren't going to pass levies? I got 3 districts in my area where they are not, as of this morning, levies voted on last night aren't passing. I think the same is true for Tacoma. I don't watch Tacoma quite as closely, but the reality is because whether it's a lack of trust, whether it's a high tax amount, whatever the reason is, seems highly likely that with increased levy authority, we're going to have more levy failures, which goes back exactly to your point, which means you have nothing. And you're saying this is better than nothing, but I'm looking at my district and saying we're likely to have nothing in more cases than not. How do we deal with that?
Thank you, Senator. Number one, separate levies and bonds. It's bonds that really struggle. It takes a 60% simple majority. Well, I want to be clear. The things that don't pass consistently are bonds at 60%. And I encourage you to go to a simple majority for
bonds.
that.
These were levies. Levies.
And on levies, we pass 90% of them, and they represent 93 or 94% of the dollars. They represent 93 to 94% of the dollars. So the second thing to answer your question, Senator, is you could get in your local newspaper, the Chronicle, and say, please pass levies in my community. I would appreciate your support for your community schools.
I have done that, but frankly, Superintendent, there's a lack of trust. And you're saying nothing here that's restoring that trust. No more questions. Thank you.
Exactly right. Nobody trusts them, which is why they don't want to fund this stuff anymore, because they say we funded and funded and funded and funded and funded, and yet you have produced no results. Things have only gotten worse. And he doesn't have an explanation for that. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. When we come back, the latest insanity with those judges in Milwaukee, New Mexico, who think they're above the law. And is it happening here in Washington? You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Remember, my friends, you have until 5 o'clock to enter the keyword I gave you at 4 for your chance to be part of the Golden Age of America contest, my friends. That's right, your chance to win $2,025 and a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. That wasn't the only fun, all that interaction with Braun and Rakedahl in the Washington State Legislature. Legislative Democrats blocked Senator Judy Warnock's resolution to try and keep men out of women's sports. They are determined to destroy women's sports. During a press availability event just the other day, Republican Senator Judy Warnock had some very strong words for the Democrats who are trying to destroy women's sports.
I have a resolution honoring girls in sports. I can't get that to be read on the floor of the Senate. They wanted to do it during pro forma. We ran out of pro forma because it's too controversial to run that resolution in a regular session. We've done other semi-controversial resolutions this year. I'm the mother of 3 daughters who were in sports. I want to see fairness in sports. And I was really disappointed that WIAA didn't come through with a good vote. I mean, it would have been advisory anyhow, but I'm just very disappointed in what's happening with the school districts, OSPI. I'm part of the Title IX generation when we, brought women's sports to the forefront. And it's just extremely disappointing that we can't get a good resolution or a good option for girls, especially in high school sports. There's no reason that they should have competition that are not female.
I agree. And by the way, these activist judges are making things worse. So this one's from the Associated Press. A federal judge yesterday temporarily blocked the Trump administration's guidance forbidding diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in K through 12 public schools. How can you block something that's against the law? DEI is exclusionary. Yesterday, we spent a huge amount of time talking about this ridiculous reparations program that Bob Ferguson signed into law. By the way, it went viral. It went viral. Washington State has been trending on Twitter for 24 hours because of this thing. It's the clips from Brandy Cruz. It's my interview with Brandy. It's the articles I wrote. It's the articles everybody else wrote on this. They're all sharing how insane this is because literally they are saying, we'll give you housing if your skin's the right color. We'll pay a down payment on your house if your skin is the right color. Not you Asians, not you Hispanics, not just the black people, just you guys, not you Jews. That's what they're doing right now. These federal judges are activists, and they're trying to stop the Trump agenda. The ruling came in a lawsuit brought by the National Education Association and the ACLU, which accused Republican administration of violating teachers' due process and First Amendment rights. You cannot discriminate against, you can yell at them all you want. You want to call your kids racist names. Well, you know what? I think you'll be fired. You could, in theory, do that. We don't have to pay public dollars to violate the law with this DEI nonsense. We don't have to fund it. We do not have to fund it. So, you know what? Just start pulling the funding. Just start pulling the funding. If you guys fund this, we don't want our money going towards that. Anybody out there in the Democrat Party ever file for grants? I mean real grants, not the ones that are baked into the cake by the Democrat Party anytime they pass some massive spending bill that you're going to get. When you do real grants, do you know what you have to comply with when you get those grants? As somebody who has applied for a lot of grants for a lot of educational institutions, holy cow, the requirements. I'm going through one right now with the Trump administration, by the way, the U.S. federal government for my Synagogue for Security things, Department of Homeland Security grant. The stuff we have to comply with, there are rules. And this isn't the Trump administration. It was during the Biden administration, too. You have to comply with a lot of things to get that federal money. And here, they want to go ahead with the discrimination. And for those of you who have kids in private school and think to yourselves, oh, we'll be perfectly fine. You know what? It's not going to touch us. Yeah, you're not going to be. You know how I know you're not going to be? Because what's going to happen is they're going to, you notice that Trump yesterday started going after accreditation agencies. Because what's going to happen is these private school accreditation agencies are going to insist on everything the state insists on. I could not believe some of the garbage that was in my kids' curriculum and they go to Jewish private school, Orthodox Jewish private school, stuff that the state mandated they had to do. We figured it out. We figured out how to do it the right way. But at the same time, you think Washington isn't going to impose all this garbage on our kids? Of course they are. You know, I think about my daughter. My daughter, she's not the most athletic kid. She's not. But she has to do her sports because that's the school requirement. I don't want to make it sound like some boy is taking away her basketball scholarship. She's a short Jewish girl, okay? That's not happening. But at the same time, I don't want to risk her safety because she's in a track meet and some boy gets a little too close to her and knocks her over. I don't want to risk her safety in volleyball or basketball or anything else. Good, so you decide to get a credit for a sport and then you're handicapped for the rest of your life because some boy was in the sport? That's not fair to anybody. That's flipping insane, by the way. But that's what the Democrats are pushing forward with. From the 702 regarding Chris Rakedal's comments we played in the last segment, Chris, you can build trust by starting to give us our money back and then give positive results. All they do now is take our money and do absolutely nothing. Yeah, 100%. 100%. This one from the 360 on ballot harvesting. Neither party should ballot harvest. Ballot harvesting should be illegal. There's too many opportunities for nefarious activities. 360, I agree with you, but the problem is until you're in power, you can't change it. And the Democrats know it's ripe for nefarious activities, which is why they do it. Exactly. 360 also was discussing earlier when we were talking about the problems in schools, how you actually prove something happened or didn't happen. You prosecute the liar and make an example of them. It happened to me in my workplace. Thank God there were cameras to prove they were lying. Not every school has cameras. And here's something else, 360, that you need to understand. The school teachers unions are fighting the cameras. Do you know why they're fighting the cameras? One, because the pedos don't want the cameras on them. But two, they don't want you to be able to do a public disclosure request for the material they are teaching. Otherwise, me, Brandy Cruz, Jonathan Cho, we'd be requesting those videos all day long, every single day. Wait a second. Can we go back in time for a minute? What was it, the third to last pedo case we had? There were cameras, and the school district was tampering with the evidence. I don't remember which one it was, but I remember it was one of the ones we covered, and the police came and said, hey, there's cameras here. Where's the video? We don't have it. We don't know what you're talking about. That was the third or fourth case ago, something like that. So the cameras don't always prove everything. Yeah, by the way, all the educational institutions I work with, they have cameras. It protects the students, it protects the teachers, and everybody knows they are there. In fact, one of the schools in the office, when you walk in, all the screens have all the video footage from all the classrooms, so you know exactly what's going on at any time. That way the kids and the teachers are safe at all times. Ask yourself why anybody would object to that. Why anybody at all. When we come back, good news. No, not good news. Fake news. Sorry, I'm getting my newses confused. Fake News Friday. Put a smile on your face. Heading into the weekend with Zach from The Morning Show. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
fake news.
With young Zach.
Educate yourself, you fool.
On the Ari Hoffman Show, Talk Radio 570 KVI.
There's too much insanity in the world. It's hard to tell what's real and what's fake in the news cycle. Young Zach, what do you got for us today?
All right, let's play a game. Is this real or is this fake?
They call them truck nuts.
Is this real or is it fake? Woo. That sounds like a nice lady, so I'm going to say it's probably real.
Yeah, sounds like a recording. We're going with real.
Yeah, that's real. That's a senator from Idaho debating the truck nut bill on the floor.
Idaho. Oh, no.
What else you got for us, Zach?
All right, well, George...
But there's no more to that? That's it? That's the end of the truck nuts legislation?
We literally legislated. They legislated it, literally, and then we legislated it last week, and just this week I got ambitious and found the footage from the floor.
So you just wanted to play a clip of some lady saying truck nuts.
Well, are you allowed to have them on your truck or not?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but only in Washington.
Only in Washington.
Yeah, that's in Idaho, that's a big...
How about new?
Gotcha. I should also mention it at this point because, like, when we're continuing fake news with young Zach, because apparently we've put a grown-ass man and put him into the de-aging machine, kind of not unlike the de-evolving Ray from that Super Mario Brothers movie that nobody likes.
That was awful.
So, yes, morning show producer Zach Wildfine continues to be young Zach here on the Ari Hoffman Show for Fake News Friday.
Exactly. Younger team.
Nostalgic.
Varsity team.
Yes. Nostalgic.
Bringing it back. Yes.
Oh, man. Well, George Santos was sentenced to 7 years today, but when I interviewed him, he told me he was only sentenced to 3.
He was sentenced-ish. Say hey to Julie for me.
Oh, very good. Very good. What else you got?
Well, I got a couple from the Babylon Bee. Sad, this guy spent $500,000 on an Ivy League education, and all he knows how to do is chant Free Palestine. He doesn't even know any of the catchy ones. Right. You got to go to a state school for that. Oh, man. More from the Babylon Bee. False alarm. Smoke coming from the Vatican. Just Cardinal Steve accidentally burning his toast again.
Oh, man.
I like that one.
Which I want to cut to the Hard Times, which had another good one about that. Teens vaping behind the Vatican accidentally elect a new pope.
The hat is, you don't remember Euro Trip? Nothing? Fine. Okay, keep going.
Nobody likes that movie, Ari.
I like that stupid movie.
Nobody except for you likes that movie, Ari.
It's a stupid movie, but I like it.
Is that what's on the screen?
No. Okay. What else you got, Zach?
More from the Babylon Bee here. Easter Bunny dead after meeting with J.D. Vance.
Oh, no. The latest victim of the Vance glance.
Super dead.
Oh, man. Rest in peace.
So the Easter Bunny?
Yes.
I did notice there's a different Easter Bunny from the Joe Biden era. Very different looking. I wonder what happened to the old Easter Bunny.
I wouldn't say better. I would say different.
Yes.
I don't know who at the White House keeps thinking it's a good look to. And I want to know who's under the suit. Is that is that guy armed to the teeth? Is that like Secret Service just with guns?
I would imagine down there. Yes.
Yeah, I would imagine it's an actual Secret Service agent.
Because it goes one of two ways. It's a staffer.
Yes.
It's a spy. Or it's definitely Secret Service.
See, that's your new game to replace your is it real or is it
And God forbid
fake?
something were to happen. I would love to see that Easter Bunny just go full Secret Service.
Tear that head off and just beat the
No, keep the head on. Even better if the head stays on.
Even better.
From the Easter basket pulls his service weapon.
Yep.
Yeah, very good.
I like it. I like it a lot.
This is the next movie.
I also noticed that the current Easter Bunny seems to have gotten that LASIK surgery because
Yes.
Yeah, because he could see now. Doesn't need glasses.
No more glasses.
That's not funny. It's just an observation. It's just
good for
weird.
him.
Yeah,
good for him. One more from the Babylon Bee. CNN says behind closed doors, Pope Francis is still focused, sharp, and energetic.
The vigor.
So spry. So spry.
Yeah, that's upsetting, and I
he can plank for that long.
There you go. Where's the TikToks for that? My goodness. But I hope this doesn't offend anybody. But like, I don't understand the appeal of being seen and waiting online for hours to see a rotting corpse. No, thank you.
Don't people still go to see Lenin? And isn't he in that glass
Yeah, I
case
don't like
or
that
whatever?
either.
Yeah,
that's
no, I
not
don't like
good.
any of this. I mean, I didn't like the bodies exhibit at the Science Museum. I thought that was kind of twisted also.
Yeah.
I like the "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor" song. That one's
Don't
that
we
one-
all?
There's nothing wrong with you.
No.
Something's got to give. Something's got to give. But no, seriously, I remember seeing like footage on TV where he's like in like a box on like an easel at an angle, and it's like, is this alien autopsy? What is going on? Because he's all like ashy and gross and just like, because again, it's a dead body.
Yeah, not cool.
I'm sorry, friends. You could send your angry emails to mike@kvi.com, but like, I just do not understand the appeal of viewing a dead body.
Yeah, I'm
No
right there
thanks.
with you. I don't get it
That
at
makes
all.
3 of us. All right. That's a tough act to follow.
That guy is still dead, super dead.
Super dead.
No.
Yeah.
Come on.
Push the button.
Super dead.
There you go.
He's like, my finger's on the button, and I'm like push the button.
I'm so sorry.
Send your angry emails to ari@kvi.com. What else you got?
How am I immune? I'll take it. I will take it, but goodness. Well, let's shift. More from the Babylon Bee. After food dye ban, Fruity Pebbles to be changed to Whitey Pebbles.
Oh, no. Now they're just racist.
For more Whitey Pebbles, visit Denny Blaine Park.
Oh, no. Bad Zach. Funny, though.
Yeah, thin ice, buddy. We're going to send you back to the morning show.
I didn't say for Fruity Pebbles.
I like him hesitating before he said it. You
It's
could
good,
see
it's
the
good.
hesitation right there before he said
Nor
it.
did I say Cocoa Pebbles.
Oh, no.
I can see the gears turning this entire time also.
Oh, bad.
Goodness
Bad,
gracious.
bad. What else you got, Zach?
Last one from the Babylon Bee. White House tells Americans to reply stop if they no longer wish to receive Pete Hegseth's text about upcoming military strikes.
I like that. Very good.
Oh, man. Back to the hard times. Scientists concerned after discovering a new strain of Hulkamania in livestock.
It's going to run wild on you.
Oh, and the
Can't
Onion.
escape these pythons.
That's right, brother.
Yeah, there you go.
The Onion had some good ones. Federal regulators hold celebratory seatbelt cutting ceremony.
Very good.
They also had RFK Jr. flushes nation's antidepressants.
Oh, no.
Big garbage sack.
Yes. Big intervention sign for the entire country.
That poor sewer system, my God.
The fishes are real happy.
Yeah. Hopefully you're on sewer and not on septic because goodness.
Like the ones in Seattle, the meth content of our salmon. I remember that story from not too long ago.
You get a little extra when you buy local.
Indeed.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
It's a good deal.
That reminds me of that scene in that A Working Man movie that we saw not too long ago. Jason Stathamson does this scheme to rescue somebody from human trafficking by pretending to be a drug dealer.
Yes.
It's very convoluted. So he buys the meth. This real like delicious looking like rock candy crystal stuff, looks tasty. And anyway, he just throws it in the river and I'm like, those poor fishes.
Yes, not good for the environment, that working
He
man.
does it twice in that movie too.
Oh, man. Last one, and I'm sorry, Ari, but it's too good. It's from The Needling. One more about the Pope, so one more chance to send your angry emails to mike@kvi.com. Late Pope Francis commemorated with Pierce County's highest honor, an airbrushed State Fair shirt.
Oh,
that's great.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, young Zach. Do appreciate it. We got a whole lot more to discuss as the show continues. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
They call them truck nuts.
Bye.
Welcome to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI, your home for the politically homeless, streaming live at KVI.com and on the KVI app. If you want to be part of the most dangerous show on the airwaves, call or text the Warrior Injury Law Studio line at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Coming up at 5:45, your chance to win fantabulous prizes, including $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card and your last chance to win tickets to the Puyallup RV Show. But before we get to any of that, my friends, I'd like to ask your indulgence for a second. There is a controversy that has not gotten the media attention I believe it should, and it actually could lead to World War III. And nobody's paying attention to it at all. So let me tell you what's going on. Let me give you some deep background first. In the 1940s, the British drew borders, lines on a map, without understanding the people who lived there, and then they left, handing over chaos as a parting gift. One side was promised a homeland, a refuge after centuries of domination and trauma. The other side claimed to be betrayed, dispossessed, displaced, wounded by what they saw as a colonial favoring of one people over another, even though they were offered their own country. From day one, they disagreed on where the borders began and ended. The land between them, a place of breathtaking beauty high in the mountains with rivers and valleys steeped in history, became the battleground. One side formed a state, a democracy surrounded by hostility. From the moment it was born, it faced neighbors that denied its right to exist. The other side turned to resistance that bled into violence and violence into terror. They went to war more than once. And between the wars, there were skirmishes, incursions, occupations, treaties made and broken. One side built institutions, held elections, dreamed of peace. The other side spoke the language of resistance and wore the mask of terror, bombings, ambushes, civilians caught in the crossfire. Both buried their dead. Both taught their children to remember. The world took sides. Some saw one nation as the aggressor, a rising power, flexing its muscles. Others saw it as a victim, constantly forced to defend itself, surrounded by hostility, threats of annihilation. They said it had a right to exist to defend its people. The other side often radicalized, sometimes romanticized, always in the news when the rockets flew or the soldiers crossed the line. This place, this conflict, people spoke of it in moral absolutes, but nothing here was simple. There were moments of hope, leaders shaking hands, promises of demilitarization, peace buses crossing borders, but the hope never lasted. A bomb would go off, a soldier would be killed, and the walls would rise again. Just recently, there was another attack, gruesome, calculated. The world barely blinked. Borders were shut, visas revoked, treaties torn up, sanctions followed. Words like proportionality and escalation filled the airwaves. The neighbor issued its own threats, talked of war, of what would happen if things got out of control. And through it all, the land remained, scarred and sacred, claimed and contested. Generations grew up knowing only the language of conflict. Some believed in peace, others have stopped believing altogether. And you've been listening to this the whole time, and if you've been thinking, this must be about Israel, about Gaza, about October 7th. I've been talking about India and Pakistan. And so many of you thought I was talking about Israel, Gaza, and October 7th. That's what you guys thought. That's what a lot of you thought. Do you know about what is happening right now? You had terrorists from Pakistan go in and murder over two dozen tourists in India. And so India is doing what any normal country should do. Seal the borders, cut off their utilities, blow up the home of terrorists, blow up one of the Pakistani Islamist terrorists' home who murdered 27 Indian Hindu tourists in Kashmir 3 days ago. Have you heard anything about this in the news at all? Anything at all? India has completely cut off water flow to Pakistan from Salal and Pakdul hydroelectric plants on the river. According to Pakistan, this means war. You haven't heard anything about this. Nothing at all. These are two nuclear powers that could go to war at any moment, and you've heard nothing about it at all. What is it? No Jews, no news? Is that what it is? You have two massive world powers on the brink of blowing each other to smithereens. Violent Islamic terrorism at the heart of it again. And you haven't heard anything about it. By the way, I asked half the people in the newsroom today if they knew this was going on. Nobody even knew. Not Donald Trump, we're not covering it. Not the Pope, we're not covering it. Not the Jews, we're not covering it. Last night, you may have seen some footage on TV from New York. Do you know who Nurdeen Kiswani is? Nurdeen Kiswani is the head of, within our lifetime, a violent Hamasnik group. And they are not, I disagree with them because of how they protest. They assault people. They beat people up. They're the ones who vandalized the New York Public Library during the Thanksgiving parade. They're the ones who, right after October 7th, were marching supporting Hamas. These are the ones who attack people on a regular basis. They are Hamas. That's who they are, Hamas in the United States. So last night, there was a skirmish between the Hamasniks and Jews in Brooklyn. Here's what she wrote. Palestinian protesters in Brooklyn are being attacked by racist Zionist Lubavitchers, while NYPD and Shomrim stand and do nothing. Protesters are bleeding, chased, blocked from leaving 770 Eastern Parkway, eggs thrown, people beaten in plain view. This is a pogrom. How dare you? How dare you? 770. Does that name, does that address mean anything to anybody? It is the headquarters of the Lubavitch movement in New York. It is a refuge, a sanctuary, a synagogue for the Chabad Lubavitch movement in New York. It is where the Lubavitcher Rebbe, that's where him and his family had all their disciples, all their students, all their congregants. In New York, if you get in a taxi cab and you give them the address 770, they know to take you to that address in Brooklyn. You don't even need to know the street number. You can just go right there, and that's where people go. So the Hamasniks decide to target a synagogue. Why? Because Ben Gvir, who's in the Israeli Knesset, decided to come there for a talk. So they came to attack Jews. They were attacking Jews. They planned a pogrom in a Jewish neighborhood against a synagogue. And when the Jews stood up for themselves, the Palestinian supporters are doing what they always do: claim victim status and steal the word pogrom for themselves. Right now, in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, you have a whole bunch of these Hamasniks, because they all just got off work, who are blocking the streets, wrapped in their keffiyehs, doing what they do. That is what is happening right now. And yet, somehow, we've got people on the side of terrorists. We've got these terrorists in the streets, in our schools, in our government, by the way, who are being purged one by one. I saw a story the other day that wasn't surprising, but it was shocking. So this one comes to us from open source intel. Biden officials admitted in an interview with Israeli journalist Raviv Drucker that the administration focused on regime change in Israel. Let me say that again. So after October 7th, what did the Biden administration do? Tried to figure out how to oust the prime minister of Israel, not Mahmoud Abbas, who's technically, I guess, in charge of the Palestinians. Not Hamas, the terrorist organization that committed October 7th, but they want to get rid of Bibi Netanyahu. That was the Biden administration's plan. By the way, this isn't a new plan. Barack Obama spent millions of your taxpayer dollars trying to oust Bibi Netanyahu when he was president of the United States. Barack Obama did that. Do you remember how many times Barack Obama tried to screw over Israel? He is one of the most anti-Israel presidents of my lifetime, because I wasn't born yet when Reagan was in office. I mean, not when Carter was in office, so that doesn't count. But yeah, this is something that has been going on literally for decades. Literally for decades. Do you remember when Bibi Netanyahu was coming here to see Obama? And Obama, they had this prearranged. Do you know what goes into these meetings of state? Everything's pre-scripted. Not talking about the Trump administration. Everything's pre-scripted. Here's how it's going to go. This is the approved language we're going to use. And while Bibi was en route, and they didn't have the same communications we have now, what happens? Obama gives a whole speech how Israel's going to go back to the 1967 borders and we're going to give back land. Bibi Netanyahu shows up in the White House and says it's not going to happen, which was amazing, by the way. He just says it's not going to happen. We're not going to do it. And he made Barack Obama look like an idiot on the world stage. Really, just told him off. Here, give a listen to this.
I think for there to be peace, the Palestinians will have to accept some basic realities. The first is that while Israel is prepared to make generous compromises for peace, it cannot go back to the 1967 lines, because these lines are indefensible, because they don't take into account certain changes that have taken place on the ground, demographic changes that have taken place over the last 44 years. Remember that before 1967, Israel was all of 9 miles wide, was half the width of the Washington Beltway. And these were not the boundaries of peace. They were the boundaries of repeated wars, because the attack on Israel was so attractive from them. So we can't go back to those indefensible lines, and we're going to have a long-term military presence along the Jordan. I discussed this with the president. I think that we understand that Israel has certain security requirements that will have to come into place in any deal that we make. The second is echoes something the president just said, and that is that Israel cannot negotiate with a Palestinian government that is backed by Hamas. Hamas, as the president said, is a terrorist organization committed to Israel's destruction. It's fired thousands of rockets on our cities, on our children. It's recently fired an anti-tank rocket at a yellow school bus, killing a 16-year-old boy. And Hamas has just attacked you, Mr. President, and the United States for ridding the world of bin Laden. So Israel obviously cannot be asked to negotiate with a government that is backed by the Palestinian version of al-Qaeda. I think President Abbas has a simple choice. He has to decide if he negotiates or keeps his pact with Hamas or makes peace with Israel. And I can only express what I said to you just now, that I hope he makes the choice, the right choice, of choosing peace with Israel. The third reality is that the Palestinian refugee problem will have to be resolved in the context of a Palestinian state, but certainly not in the borders of Israel. The Arab attack in 1948 on Israel resulted in two refugee problems: Palestinian refugee problem and Jewish refugees, roughly the same number, who were expelled from Arab lands. Now, tiny Israel absorbed the Jewish refugees, but the vast Arab world refused to absorb the Palestinian refugees. Now, 63 years later, the Palestinians come to us and they say to Israel, accept the grandchildren, really, and the great-grandchildren of these refugees, thereby wiping out Israel's future as a Jewish state. So it's not going to happen. Everybody knows it's not going to happen. And I think it's time to tell the Palestinians forthrightly, it's not going to happen. The Palestinian refugee problem has to be resolved. It can be resolved. And it will be resolved if the Palestinians choose to do so in a Palestinian state. That's a real possibility. But it's not going to be resolved within the Jewish state.
He said that 15 years ago, in 2011, sitting next to Barack Obama. Barack Obama showed up on the world stage and couldn't handle it because his ego is so massive. So what did he do? He used American taxpayer dollars to try and campaign, undermine Bibi Netanyahu. Joe Biden and the Democrats did the exact same thing, while Israel was fighting a 7-front war. Now, mind you, in 2011, things weren't so peachy either. You still had the issues with Hamas that you're hearing about. But at the same time, they weren't fighting against everybody else. You still had the threat of Iran. You still had the threat of Hezbollah. But you weren't having a hot war with everybody in the region that was started by Iran. Who funded Iran, by the way? Oh, right. Barack Obama, Joe Biden, his vice president, then Joe Biden as president. This is the mess they made with your taxpayer dollars. Elaine says over on the Warrior Injury Law studio line, she says the world has also forgotten about the Nigerian Christians that were murdered by Islamists. Yes, exactly right. By the way, I've gotten as close as you can go to Bethlehem. There's a giant wall in the way. I can't go there because I'm Jewish. You want to tell me again about apartheid? And they don't want the Christians there either. The Islamists want to kick all of them out. People need to study history and understand this kind of stuff. I'm going back to the 1970s to 28-year-old Bibi Netanyahu, because this stuff was going on back then. And the world just hasn't woken up yet.
Let me quote you what the PLO Information Office said in a Dutch paper in 1977, in May 5th.
77?
May 5th, 1977, yes. The statement was very simple. Our objective remains the destruction of the Zionist state of Israel. So let's keep in mind that what we're talking about here is not the attempt to build a state, but to destroy one.
Do the Palestinians have a right to a separate state?
Now, no one is denying that there are Palestinian Arabs. There's a very distinguished Palestinian Arab sitting right next to me. But the Palestinians themselves, in the Palestinian National Covenant, the very first article, say that the people of Palestine, quote, are part of the Arab nation. Well, let's look at the Arab nation. It has 21 states, an area roughly the size of the United States, and 1/6 of the entire world's wealth. Now, add to that the fact that there already exists a Palestinian state, and that is Jordan, 60% of whose population is Palestinian. I think it's quite interesting that Yasser Arafat and King Hussein, who are bitter enemies, agree on one thing, that Jordan is a Palestinian state. So what we're talking about is a demand for a 22nd Arab state and a second Palestinian state.
What should be done with the Palestinians on the West Bank? There's a problem, so what should be done, in your opinion?
Well, I think that the Palestinians in the West Bank are going to be offered the full human rights, the full civil rights, as no Arabs are offered in the Middle East. No Arabs whatsoever have any full human rights or the right to vote for their own government. Those Arabs who lived in Israel in the pre-67 boundaries are the only Arabs in the Middle East who offer that right, and I'm all in favor of having the same Arabs living in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip being offered such a right in the final peace agreement.
Can we have peace in the Middle East?
Very briefly, please.
Yes, I sincerely hope so. Look, I'm 28 years old. I've had to defend my country in 2 wars and in many battles. Nobody wants peace more than Israel. But the stumbling block to the road for peace is this demand for a PLO state, which will mean more war, which will mean more violence in the Middle East. And I sincerely believe, if this demand is abandoned, we can have real and genuine peace.
He said that in 1978, and nothing's changed. It didn't change in 2011. It hasn't changed now. And yet people don't study history, and people aren't paying attention. They pay attention to the loudest voice in the room, which right now is the lunatics out in the middle of Midtown Manhattan, which is absolutely crazy. And yet nobody in our own newsroom was paying attention to what's happening in Pakistan, what's happening with India. Nobody's paying attention at all with 2 nuclear powers about to go to war. What is it always? What did Israel do today? What did Israel do today? Do you know what else happened today? Donald Trump did this, and it got almost no news coverage. In a major reversal of the Biden administration's position, the Department of Justice now says that UNRWA, the ones that coordinate with Hamas and run the Hamas schools and have the rocket launchers in the schools and participate on October 7th, has no immunity from U.S. lawsuits, opening the door to massive claims by victims of Hamas. They also question whether UNRWA was legally created in the first place. Do you know who restored funding to UNRWA? Joe Biden. That's who did it. In a statement, the DOJ wrote, "It is highly doubtful that the UN Charter even authorizes the General Assembly to create a subsidiary organization such as UNRWA because its functions are not the type of functions performed by the General Assembly." This organization kept the Palestinians in refugee camps because they didn't want to admit that Israel isn't going anywhere. And they caused the Palestinian refugee problem. You want a perfect example of how insane this is? My wife is Palestinian. My wife is Palestinian. All of you go, wait a minute, Ari, I thought your wife is Jewish. She is Jewish. She's also a Palestinian. You know why? Her grandmother was born in what was British Mandate Palestine. We still have her passport. She doesn't get all the goodies from the UN. She doesn't get any of that. Why? Because she's Jewish. They were kicked out. They had to leave because of the Arab violence against Jews. And they had to leave in 1927. Long before a state of Israel even existed. Nobody's paying attention to what's going on in India and Pakistan. Because what do they just focus on? The Middle East, Trump, Pope. That's all they've been talking about this whole time, which is absolutely insane and shows you the priority level of everybody in the world. Lots more to discuss as the show continues, my friends. Don't forget, coming up at 5:45 is your good news giveaway and your good news headlines. But when we come back, got some fun events happening around here for the weekend, including a rodeo. Woo! Partay! Tell you about that, plus a whole lot more. But first, Todd Herman's Daily Thoughtcast, right now on the Ari Hoffman Show. Friends, coming up this weekend, we have Unleash the Beast, the professional bull riders event at the Tacoma Dome. And joining us now to discuss a man with too many titles, too many credits, and who is a very, very accomplished rider, the one and only Dalen Swearingen. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, yeah, yes, sir. Thanks for having me on today.
No problem at all. So how long have you been involved in bull riding? I mean, you and I are both from New York, and I didn't know this was a career option.
Oh, yeah, I think you can go from any place in the world and do anything you want when you set your mind to it. And I've kind of grew up doing this, kind of been around the Western industry my whole life, and this is something I started on sheep and just kept working my way up.
Oh, mutton busting. I saw that at the Puyallup Fair one time. It was awesome. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I wish I could have done that to my kids.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Oh, pretty awesome. So now, as I understand it, this is more of a team sport, or rather a duo or a pairing, because it's not just you, it's the animal you're riding too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, the PBR brings the best bull athletes in the world. They're handpicked and selected to come to these events. And every time we get on one, like these are athletes themselves, they have workout regimens, eating regimens. It's a beast on a workout plan, really.
Amazing. Now, is this something that's a family thing for you, or is this something you decided to get into and your parents were lawyers or doctors or something?
Yeah, no, my whole family's always done it. My family owned a rodeo company, and, they've all participated in rodeo, and this is just a livelihood that I've always that's always been true to my heart, and I'm thankful and blessed that I get to pursue my dreams and goals.
Incredible. So if people haven't been to one of these events before, for say at the Tacoma Dome, like what's coming up this weekend, it's coming up this weekend, what can they expect to see at the event?
Man, I mean, this is nothing like any other, like when that chute gate opens, there's no whistle that's going to stop it or anything like that. It's going to play out however God wants it to, You got the top 35 of the best guys in the entire world from all over the countries, and we're all competing for a gold buckle, which I'm not really in the gold buckle race this year. But, this is probably one of our tightest world champion races that we've had. And, so this is the last event, so everybody's going to be trying to get, everybody's going to bring their A game. And I think that's what you're going to see at the Tacoma Dome. It's going to be great bull riding. It's like a rock concert with bull riding.
Sounds awesome.
Great time for everybody.
Sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. The Professional Bull Riders Unleash the Beast event is this weekend at the Tacoma Dome at 6:45 on Saturday and 1:45 on Sunday. You can get your tickets now at Ticketmaster.com or at the Tacoma Dome box office. Dalen Swearingen, good luck this weekend, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, yes, sir. Hope to see all y'all there.
All right. Really appreciate you joining us. In other news, by the way, around here, so as we finish off Earth Week, not Earth Day, it's Earth Week around here in Washington, right? So we now have the information on what is the filthiest city, the dirtiest city in the entire U.S. And you know who it is? It's not us. I was expecting it to be us. It's Baltimore, which doesn't surprise me at all. They say we're not even in the top 20, by the way, according to this study from House Fresh, which reviewed 12.3 million sanitation-related complaints to over 311 to 311, the information line over the past years. Cities that had over 250,000 residents were ranked based on the number of sanitation-related reports, such as garbage, waste, recycling per 100,000 residents. Have you guys not checked our numbers? Just out of morbid curiosity. By the way, Mike, I don't know if you're having the same thing I am. You drive a different way to work than I do. I've noticed there are more homeless people more drug addicts bent over on 4th Avenue than I've seen in a long time. I don't know what's going on. Every alcove I was driving past on 4th Avenue yesterday, around a 3-block radius, right near the movie theater, right near the where the old Cinerama, whatever they call it now. So over there, it was drug addicts everywhere. I don't know what's going. That's not usually where you see them. That's not usually their stomping grounds. But remember, if your city, for the sake of the climate, wants to ban plastic straws and plastic bags, but give out plastic and metal needles, you're being governed by morons, absolute morons. I did like this post from the White House. Under President Donald J. Trump, America is back leveraging environmental policies rooted in reality to promote economic growth while maintaining the standards that have afforded Americans the cleanest air and water in the world for generations, unlike the previous administrations, which wasted billions of taxpayer dollars on virtue signaling and ineffective grifts. The Trump administration's policies are rooted in the belief that Americans are the best stewards of our vast natural resources. No green new scam required. So, they have the key actions that President Trump is taking. President Trump is promoting energy innovation for supporting cutting-edge technologies like carbon capture and storage, nuclear energy, and next-generation geothermal. By the way, we've been talking about this stuff for years. There are ways of going green which are cost-effective. You don't have to come up with new technology that doesn't exist yet and break the bank, especially on, anybody here remember a company named Solyndra? Anybody remember that? Yeah, I'm sure we all remember that one, right? Championing sound forest management. Right, when you clear the forest and do responsible forest management, then you don't have these massive fires that burn everything down. President Trump is ending the forced use of paper straws. Yeah, this is funny to me. So you guys want to save all the trees, but use the paper bags and the paper straws. Oh, wait. COVID's coming. Quick, back to plastic bags as fast as possible. Go right back, right? President Trump is cutting wasteful regulations that stifle innovation and raise costs. Yes, exactly. President Trump is protecting public lands, pushing back on unfair trade practices that harm the environment. So here's an example. Why are we getting oil from the Middle East? We drill it cleaner, safer, better here. So it's okay to pollute in the Middle East, but not okay to pollute here? Yeah, it's beyond insane. And plus, if we crack down on China and end their relationships with a lot of people, they won't be producing the massive amounts of carbon footprint that they're producing right now. Remember all those nuclear stacks you saw in the background of the Olympics? Yeah, they're all actually there. When we come back, my friends, the latest insanity from Portland. Our friend Lars Larson will be joining us to be unleashed. Tell us about the insanity in Rose City. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.
KVI and the Ari Hoffman Show.
I want you to get up now.
Taking off the gloves.
I want you to get mad.
Telling it like it is.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Welcoming Lars, Unleashed.
Oh, my friends, after a great debate last week about Easter and Passover and educating all of our listeners, Lars Larson back with us again, as he is every single week, to catch us up on what's been going on in Portland, because, Lars, there's been so much other news. I feel like I've been neglecting the rest of the left coast. What's going on at Portland State University?
I got to tell you, I think this echoes the same kind of nonsense that's going on at UW, where, you got the Hamasniks on campus. Well, you might remember that May of last year, not even a year ago, it seems longer than that, but May of last year, a bunch of pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist protesters had their little, shindig at Portland State University, and they decided to take over the library building. Now, did the university object to that? No, they didn't, and frankly, they ought to get their federal funding cut, because when you let a bunch of hooligans take over a library in name of Palestine and from the river to the sea and all that nonsense, they did an estimated $1.25 million damage. They shut the campus down, and students were told to stay home for the day. And PSU is kind of a working college. I mean, it's the kind of college that people who work for a living and then decide, I need to go back and finish up a degree. This isn't a community college. It's a full-fledged university, but it's very much a working person's campus. People come to campus. There aren't as many people who live on campus, and it's located right in the middle of downtown Portland. So it's a center for an awful lot of the protest activity. They take over the library, and an awful lot of the damage they did was just gratuitous damage. I mean, they scrawled things on the walls, they broke things, and $1.25 million later, they're done. Well, there's a new DA in town who says, I'm going to bring the charges against these people they should be charged with. So you have PSU declining enrollment, raising tuition, they've cut staff, so they're delivering less, charging more, and now they're planning to build a performing arts center for whatever reason. That seems stupid to me, to a university that can't keep its students, can't keep its faculty, can't keep its finances in good shape. And they know that they're going to go to the city council of Portland and say, we need some money. So one of the city council members said, well, I'm threatening not to provide anything for that performing arts center. And I thought, great, there's finally somebody on the city council, which just grew from 5 to 12 this year, and he's going to demand that these kids be brought to account. No, he's literally saying, we will withhold the city funds if you don't drop the charges against these folks. Now, I've actually talked to a former DA that I know, and he's told me that's actually official misconduct and coercion and extortion. And see if this sounds familiar. I'll withhold the money if you don't do what I tell you to do. It reminded me of Joe Biden threatening Ukraine way back in the day, saying you either fire that prosecutor who's going after the company where Joe Biden's son was working, or I'm going to withhold $1 billion. This is a lot smaller dollar amount, but this is a city council member saying, we'll withhold the money from your new performing arts center if you don't agree to drop the charges against the students who did all this damage. Ari, that's nuts.
That's absolutely insane, but it doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, let's remember we have Chris Rakedale here in Washington, and he threatens school districts that don't do what he wants with funding and then complains when Donald Trump says, you're violating the law. We're going to take away your federal funding.
Yeah, isn't that amazing how it's okay for Rakedale to use the heavy club of threat of withholding financing to get his ideology imposed? And Donald Trump is saying, I'm withholding this because you're imposing ideology. I think most of that is about the ideology of trans. But Trump is actually trying to stand up for the civil rights of girls and women in this country. Rakedale is standing up for the right to indoctrinate your kids.
Yeah, it's really, really nuts. Now, getting back to Portland for a second, with what's going on there. So their city council, a lot of the crazies are off it, but is it like the Seattle City Council where they're still lefty Democrats, they're just not hardcore Marxists anymore?
No, they're lefty Democrats, and really we've had to take the full measure of these people because we don't know who they are yet. Here's what happened is last year or the year before, the voters decided we want to move the city council from 5 members to 12, and we're going to have ranked choice voting, which means some of these jokers got their seats with maybe 25 or 30% of the voters in the district they represent voting for them. Now imagine that. You've got a person sitting in a position to vote on a $7 billion annual budget based on getting 30% of the vote. But under ranked choice voting, that's the way it's going to roll. And so we don't even know how this is going to shape up. In a lot of ways, it's a brand new government. They've made the mayor a whole lot less significant to the whole process. The mayor used to be the person who decided which areas each city council member, whether they represented the fire department or the police department or the parks department or whatever. Now the mayor has almost no say-so at all. And you've got 12 people. And Ari, I've posed this question since the first time they started suggesting this. If you have a group of 5 people and you think they're not making good decisions, do you think that making it 12 people making decisions is going to get you better decisions?
No, of course not.
People can't figure out where to have lunch.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? You know the Broadway show 1776, Lars, the one about the founding of the United States? So what's the opening line? I have found that 1 useless man is a disgrace, 2 useless men are a law firm, and 3 or more useless men are a Congress. That's what I'm thinking when you're talking. That's John Adams at the beginning of 1776. In the last few minutes we have with our friend Lars Larson. So getting back to Portland State University for a second, is it like University of Washington where the Hamasniks are running the campus these days? Because I haven't heard a whole lot out of them recently. And if not for my coverage, you wouldn't hear a whole lot out of UW. It seems like they're all just trying to fly under the radar.
See, and it's not as much so because, as I said, PSU is kind of a working man or working woman's campus where people come in, they go to school, and then they go back to their real lives. So there's fewer resident students on campus. There's not as much to control, and that's the only reason. It's structural because most of the students are people who just want to mind their own business. They work real jobs in the real world, and they come to the campus to, say, finish up a degree, get those final credits to get the BA or the MA or whatever it is they were working toward, and they tend to be a lot more focused. So they're not hanging around campus. They come, they get the schooling they want, they go away. It's actually a very desirable arrangement.
Lars Larson, you can catch his show every single weekday from 12 to 3 right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. Lars, as always, thanks so much for joining us, buddy, and you have a wonderful weekend.
Always my pleasure. Take care.
We love having you, buddy. Only good news to wrap up the show. Your good news giveaway, your good news headlines, your chance to win a $50 gift card, plus so much more. You're listening to the Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI. It is time to feel good as we wrap up another amazing episode of the Ari Hoffman Show right here on Talk Radio 570 KVI. And before we get to our good news giveaway, got a programming note for everybody. So on Sunday, bright and early, my friends, we have at Bellevue Downtown Park the All In for Autism 5K run and walk. This is to raise awareness and funds to support children with autism spectrum disorder, ASD, their families and caregivers with the ultimate goal of raising their quality of life. Plus, you get to bring your kids and you get to bring your dogs. Fun for the whole family. The race is in downtown Bellevue, starts and ends at the Race Village at Bellevue Downtown Park. You can meet me and Phil from the morning show at the KVI tent, along with our sister stations 101.5 Hank FM and Northwest News Radio. For more information, including registration on the 5K Run Walk, go to the website allinforautism.org. Also, remember to register today or the prices go up. There's also a Kids Dash from 7:50 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. The 5K starts at 8:30 a.m., and our MC this year will be our very own Brian Calvert from Northwest News Radio. So that's All In for Autism. For more information, go to the website allinforautism.org. That's allinforautism.org. Remember, you get to see me and Phil at the KVI tent. Now, you have to get there before 9 o'clock if you want to see me. Why? I have to leave a little bit early because I have a trip that I'm going to be taking. But hang on for 1 second before I tell you about the trip. Today is the day before mine and Mike's 4-year anniversary. That's right. The Ari Hoffman Show has been on air for 4 years as of Saturday, but we don't have a show on Saturday. So we're going to recognize and celebrate this a little bit today and a little bit on Monday. First of all, I want to thank everybody in our wonderful audience for not canceling us because Fake News Friday every week, that's a roll of the dice, especially this week. But I want to thank all of you for all your support. You know, in the radio business and the media business, it's real easy to go, this guy isn't performing. He's gone. These guys aren't performing. We don't want him anymore. And you guys have been listening for 4 years. Thank God. The ratings are good, always increasing. Podcast numbers, advertising, everything, always good. So thank you so much for listening to us for 3 hours every single day. Really do appreciate it. You guys are why we do what we do. You guys are why we love to do what we do and why we have the public events, because we want to see you guys. So thank you all, and thank you for the tips that give us the amazing stories. You guys make this show. I call it our show for me and Mike, but it's also our show because of all of you. You are part of it. You call us. You text us. You give us the tips. So thank you for letting us come into your house, come into your car, come into your lives, come into your family for 3 hours a day, every single day. It really means the world. I didn't know I'd find my dream job at 40, by the way. So it's pretty awesome that way. Now, the other celebration as part of the Ari Hoffman Show. Assuming my Secret Service background check comes back, because, Mike, I still haven't gotten that schedule back, so I'm getting a little nervous at this point. I have tickets booked to go to Washington, D.C. on Monday to broadcast from the White House to celebrate President Trump's 100 days in office. Now, this is a bit of a funny story. I saw our friends in the media who are on our marketing level, our ratings level, that kind of stuff. And I saw a whole bunch of them were at the White House when I was in Israel. And I go, what the hell? I didn't get no invitation to go to Israel. Turns out it was actually sitting in my inbox and I completely missed it. So it was while I was in Israel anyway. I couldn't have gone. But I said, you know what? I really want to get on this when I get back. I contacted the White House. They said, don't worry, there will be more events. And wouldn't you know, on, what was it, Monday, Mike? It was Monday. I get an email from the White House. Hey, can you be here on Friday? And I said, no, but that was exactly. But I said, I'm so sorry. I guess I'm going to miss another one. They said, no problem. You want to come on Monday? And I said, yes, let's do that. Worked it out with KVI management, Mr. KVI himself, and assuming my Secret Service background check comes through okay and they don't find that thing from when I was 18 on my prom night, assuming that thing with the car and all that, assuming that's not there, then you know what? We're going to be perfectly fine and hopefully broadcasting from the White House on Monday. So that's not to be missed. I can't think of a better place to spend our anniversary.
Well, there's a specific reason why you've been invited to broadcast from the White House, right?
Yes, 100 days of the Trump administration. And here's the best part, my friends. They said they're going to be providing cabinet people for us to talk to and maybe some other people as well. We don't know who we're going to get. I'm waiting on this information packet. Haven't seen it yet. I may take off, go to D.C. Who knows what awaits me there? This is a very last-minute deal, but I'm excited for it. The last time I was in the White House, I think I was 10 years old, and it was during George H.W. Bush's administration, and I've spoken about this around Christmas time. It is something that really, look, I'm Jewish. I don't celebrate Christmas, but I love the holiday season. In fact, one of our coworkers was like, oh, Ari, shut up. You don't love Christmas. And Mike is like, oh, you've never listened to Ari talk about how much he likes Christmas. One of the reasons is because I saw how beautifully the White House was decorated. It left a lasting impression on me. The history, the majesty, the beauty, the decoration. I'm excited to see how I look at it through eyes 35 years later.
Well, it's such a cool opportunity, too, and it underscores the transparency of this Trump administration and really what they're trying to do in the comms department. They've had, like, Podcasters Row. I mean, like, even in his dumb ratty hoodie and his smelly beanie, old Tim Pool gets to sit there and all that other stuff. But I think it's cool, though, that the White House, from an official standpoint, is reaching out to folks in conservative media like ourselves. This is a huge opportunity and a really, really cool thing.
Yes, I'm very excited for it. And also, my message I'm going to be going, and here's what I'm going to be asking every cabinet member. How is Washington, D.C. going to help Washington State? When is the cavalry coming? Because we've been begging for it. And I'm ashamed to say as a conservative that I'm begging for federal intervention, but that's how desperate we are, my friends.
Everyone else is getting it.
Exactly. They're going after Maine. Maine. So that's the question I'm going to be asking every single member of the cabinet I, please God, get to speak to. So more updates on that. Follow me on social media at The Hofffather, Ari Hoffman Official on Facebook and Instagram so you get all the details. Before I forget, your chance to win fantabulous prizes. Today, we are giving away a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card. Check out danielsbroiler.com to reserve a table, place your takeout, delivery order, and more. We're also giving away a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, plus a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement. Visit madronafinancial.com for more information and discover how you can create a rooted wealth plan today. Last but certainly not least, we're giving away four tickets to the Puyallup RV Show May 1st through 4th. Get your tickets today at PuyallupRVShow.com. That's PuyallupRVShow.com. All you have to do in order to win these fantabulous prizes is be caller number 10 at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Caller number 10 will win a $50 Daniel's Broiler gift card, a copy of 7 Steps to a Successful Retirement by Brian Evans of Madrona Financial and CPAs, a bonus of the Little Red Book of Retirement, and four tickets to the Puyallup RV Show May 1st through 4th. Phone lines are open now. Give Mike a call for your chance to win at 206-421-5757. That's 206-421-5757. Well, my friends, that's going to wrap it up for us today, but hopefully you'll be listening to us broadcasting from the White House on Monday if my Secret Service paperwork comes through with lots of exciting guests and insane stories, and we'll still have giveaways. You're listening to The Ari Hoffman Show on Talk Radio 570 KVI.